forget to like and subscribe.
And hit the notification bell
so we can go to college and get more knowledge.
Welcome back in the place to be with the CBDC Assets Group. Thank you all for being a part of the group. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's supporting us over on cyberhodlgear.com, purchasing all of our CBDC Assets Group merchandise. Thank you again. Your support means a lot.
So the point being that regardless where the SEC ends up, which again, I'm quite confident about, but look, Ripple's a very global company, and we serve the vast majority of the activity across RippleNet, our United States. Even since the SEC has filed their lawsuit, we have signed over 20 new contracts with financial institutions around the world. So now I will point out, none of those have been here in the United States. And I think ultimately that's why I go back to this is an attack on crypto here in the United States. There are lots of players in the crypto industry who have chosen to set up and domicile outside the United States. And I think one of the worst things that could happen, and I say this as a US citizen and being based here in the United States, is this isn't good for the crypto industry here domestically.
You heard that right. Big Bad Brad said there's an attack on crypto in the United States. What are we going to do? First thing we're going to do is look at this market cap right here. How are you guys doing? Welcome back to the channel. Great to have you back. It's me, your main man, Corey, here to break down the indicators, because that's what's really important in this space, not the price daily. The market cap is just under $2 trillion or 300 billion shy, however you want to slice it. The 24-hour volume is 70 billion. It's not too shabby. And the Bitcoin dominance is at 41.1%, Ethereum 18.5%. Now, what I'm looking for currently in Bitcoin, I've been telling you guys this, I'm trying to watch the price to see what's going to happen. I got to wait for that move up. I want it to bounce back up just under $60,000, because on the way back up is when the altcoin season begins, baby. So let's watch this Bitcoin price and see what happens. And when that happens, you'll also notice a little bit of the drop in the dominance of Bitcoin and Ethereum. You heard Brad right. There's an attack on crypto. So what he's talking about in this NFTs, the future of XRP versus Ripple, or Ripple versus the SEC, and getting into NFT space and the fees, the change in mining crypto, and the move towards a greener proof of work, proof of stake. And one of the big things I think Brad talks about with mining is just being intellectually honest with yourself about the benefits of mining versus the cons of mining, and how that negatively impacts the environment. It's rare to see people have an intelligent conversation about that. Now, XRP sitting here at 60 cents, just above 60 cents, and went up a little bit in the last couple minutes. But the important thing to watch for is this retracement level of 61 to 62%. Hoping to see a bounce back if we can maintain those levels. Again, we're watching for Bitcoin, hoping it hits 60K or just under, so we can start our run. Don't forget, if you guys like what you're watching, please make sure to smash that subscribe button and like button so my children can go to college to get more knowledge.
So, Bob, good to see you. Good to be here. And I think one of the key things you said in your question is you said XRP is a cryptocurrency. And I think, there've been a whole bunch of things that have happened in the history. In the Obama administration, the Treasury Department refers to XRP as a currency. I think that Mary Jo White, who is a former chair of the SEC, came out and very publicly said that the SEC is dead wrong on this point. And I think as the court case progresses, what we'll find is that the SEC is wrong on the facts, they're wrong on the law. But I do think it's an important question because, to be a little bit cheeky, I think there really are ripple effects from the SEC's lawsuit against Ripple and against myself and against Chris Larson. And when the lawsuit was first filed, which I will remind people was, almost the day before Christmas and the day before Jay Clayton, as the chair of the SEC, left office, that literally right then I tweeted out kind of, this is an attack on crypto at large. And you may know, last week, Jay Clayton was interviewed on CNBC and started talking about the need for Bitcoin regulation. And it's clear that the SEC under Jay Clayton took a very anti-crypto point of view, which I don't think is good for the whole industry, particularly for those actors who have I think, sought to work with regulators constructively and transparently.
I want to note, you mentioned Mary Jo White. She is on the payroll of Ripple, right? She's on the board. Is that right?
No, she's not on the board. We have a robust board of many our former regulators and government people. But Mary Jo White is our outside counsel. But I think it says a lot, the fact that Mary Jo White, as the former chair of the SEC, takes clients. She can get a lot of different clients, and the fact that she took this case, I think, is indicative of how she thinks about the law on this and how she thinks about the facts.
So you've described this as an attack on the crypto industry at large. You've said that there are ripple effects that are going to ripple out and cause maybe a chilling effect on the broader industry. Elaborate on that for us here. What does that mean? What damage will this lawsuit do to crypto at large?
Well, I think ultimately it won't do that damage, because I think that, as we have already seen, I think that the trend line has been positive for the court case, and so I don't think it will do the damage. I think Ripple's likely to prevail. In fact, but my own personal point of view is that as a new leadership team at the SEC comes in, there'll be an opportunity to have a constructive dialogue about how do we move forward in context of where the industry is today. I think well, XRP, as one of the cryptocurrencies that has a lot of liquidity, has traded openly for about 8 years. Over $1 trillion of XRP has traded between different currencies around the world. And look, other parts of the U.S. government have referred to XRP as a currency. In fact, it's an interesting nugget that the United States is the only country on the planet that has suggested XRP is a currency. That XRP is a security. You have other G20 markets, whether it's the UK, whether it's Switzerland, Japan, Singapore, parts of the Middle East. They have all been very explicit that they view XRP as a currency. And so, look, I think we will get to resolution around this. I'm hopeful that we get to that sooner rather than later. But if we do have to go through all the way to a neutral fact finder and have a judge make a determination, I'm very optimistic about how that will play out, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. At the end of the day, the way Ripple uses XRP is as a bridge currency. And whether you have a digital fiat, whether it's a tokenized, as some countries are investigating, or you don't have it tokenized, you still have that friction between currencies. So from my point of view, it's actually great to see central banks around the world investing in this space. And the more efficient the local rails are, the more demand there will be to have efficient cross-border rails. So I look at this as a very positive development. I've spoken publicly about some of the work that Ripple is doing in partnering with, in some cases, consulting with central banks around the world to help them think through. And look, the XRP ledger is an extremely efficient ledger, and the ability to issue new assets and new tokens, if you will, on the XRP ledger is very straightforward, and that was part of the original design. So I feel very good about where the world's going in that regard, and I think it actually helps Ripple's business and how we're using the XRP ledger.
So in this sort of worldview that you're pitching, would it be that you have, say, a U.S. digital dollar at some point, you've got a digital renminbi, and then XRP would sort of act as that bridge that people would swap into to go into those patchwork of different central bank digital currencies? Or maybe you could just zero in on that.
Yeah, look, if you think about it, whether or not a central bank is a tokenized digital asset or it is a currency, you still have the need to have liquidity and settlement between other currencies. So, but my viewpoint is when these central banks are experimenting with, and in some cases moving forward, deploying a central bank issued digital asset, I don't think it changes anything for how Ripple is going to market. In fact, I think in some ways it helps, because again, as I said, the more efficient your local rail is, the more demand there'll be for efficient cross-border transactions. And managing that liquidity, today, you've got liquidity between 100 different currencies around the world. If you can have liquidity with one that then has that bridge to lots of currencies around the world, that can be managed much more efficiently. So I don't think it changes anything substantial. The other thing, by the way, I'll just point out, and I've talked about this a little bit publicly. I've always been a little bit curious about some of the central bank, being clear about what problem you're trying to solve. If if you are the bank of Bob and you go to the Fed window here in the United States, you're not getting a pallet of printed dollars. You're getting a ledger entry, a digital ledger entry that you're borrowing money from the Fed, and then most of your currency on your balance sheet is digital. And so I think being really clear about what problem you're trying to solve with a central bank issued digital asset is very important. And that's been the foundation of the conversations we've had with central banks around the world. So MoneyGram was one of our kind of leading customers as we launched what we call ODL, on-demand liquidity, enabling remittance companies, enabling financial institutions to not have to pre-fund accounts around the world. A lot of people don't know how money moves around the world, but in general, it's all pre-funded. This is money that has been pre-funded around the world. And there's about $10 trillion pre-funded in accounts around the world so that you can issue debits and credits, typically using what we call the SWIFT network and messaging around the SWIFT network. So with MoneyGram, we're able to partner with them and demonstrate how you can use XRP liquidity, how you can use this to make it not need to pre-fund and make it very efficient, very fast. And we proved that out. And the investment we made in MoneyGram also worked out really, really well for us. Ultimately, as you referenced, as a US company, MoneyGram understandably looked at the SEC's actions here in the United States and decided, hey, we're gonna pause this. And so we mutually agreed, hey, let's wind down the partnership for now. If and when there's clarity with the SEC, I expect we'll revisit that. And again, as I said, even since the SEC brought their lawsuit, we've signed up lots of competitors to MoneyGram and other corridors around the world.
So I've got to ask you this as well. Given that during 2017, when there was this just boom of ICOs, initial coin offerings, you came out and you were pretty down on them. You said a lot of them were scams. I've got to ask, just because right now we're living in this moment where there's a new craze, the NFT craze of non-fungible tokens. It's quite different from the ICO mania that we had in years past. But I've got to get your thoughts on it. Some people think it's ridiculous. Other people think it's the next coming of social networks and managing economics online. Where do you stand on this NFT mania, and do you own any yourself?
I'm a believer that NFTs are definitely here to stay. I think that there are so many use cases. Again, one of the things I've talked a lot about is being clear about who's the customer, what problem are you solving? And I do think with NFTs, you're solving a problem. And that I'll talk about collectibles. I don't know what things you may be interested in collect, but growing up, I had a baseball card collection, and the ability to trade baseball cards is very high friction. If you're able to issue an NFT associated with each individual baseball card, the tradability of that goes way up. Whether you're talking about artists, collectibles, music, there's a lot of use cases here that are very compelling. And certainly you've seen some hype about NFTs right out of the gates. But I think NFTs are definitely here to stay. And certainly we are doing things as we partner with the XRP Ledger community to make sure the XRP Ledger can support that. So I will point out that one of the problems that artists and creators have been sensitive to is that the fees, and this is part of the inefficiency and the energy costs of some proof of work blockchains, make it hard to scale into long tail collectibles, because if the fees or the charged for NFTs are too high, that makes it difficult to scale that business.
There are some blockchains that are moving from proof of work to proof of stake, like Ethereum, and they're hoping that this is actually going to bring down the fees that you cited. I wonder what your long-term prospects are for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, for various other cryptocurrencies, given the sort of technological changes they're seeking to implement. What you're bullish on?
Well, look, I'm bullish on the whole industry. I certainly continue to believe in the category overall. I think as you described, there is a need, I think, to be intellectually honest about how proof of work and the energy consumption and by extension, the carbon footprint. There are some already Bitcoin miners coming out saying, hey, we're only going to be renewable. And so I have certainly been vocal, but just personal passion around the issue of climate change and trying to be really honest about, hey, what does proof of work mean to these industries? What is the carbon emissions? And let's be intellectually honest and own that and figure out how to address it. As you pointed out, the Ethereum community and their migration from proof of work to proof of stake is kind of ahead of the game there. And I'm certainly bullish on the work they're doing.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And hit the notification bell
So we can go to college and get more knowledge.